Hi besties, thanks for returning to my channel. Now, you guys know how Christine broke away, smiling, serene, finally liberated. But what if that serene Fayade hid something much more profound? What if Christine's silence the last 2 years wasn't peace? Is it preparation? We heard whispers before. Kody's emotional manipulation, secret finances, coyote lies about Coyote Pass. But based on early rumors from publishers and insiders close to Christine's team, the book goes a lot deeper. Christine's going to reveal stuff that not even the cameras picked up. And based on what I've cobbled together from publishing documents, early chapter outlines, and Christine's own social media teases, this book may have receipts on how Kody concealed cash, manipulated agreements, and wielded religion to maintain over his wives. It is not a memoir. It is an indictment. Now, before we get into what she is going to reveal, let's flash back a bit, because Christine's revelation didn't begin when she left Flagstaff. It started years earlier when she realized that Kody wasn't just losing interest, he was restructuring the family in ways none of the wives understood. And if what I'm hearing is correct, Christine's about to name names, dates, and accounts that connect back to every major decision he made. From the Coyote Pass buyouts to the mysterious trust fund Kody quietly formed with Robyn in 2024. So let's go back to where it all began, because this story isn't just about a marriage ending. It is all about the cover-up that began immediately afterwards. When Christine originally left in 2021, Kody attempted to spin it like some tranquil breakup. You recall the interviews, the "I respect her decision" vibe, the exasperated sighs, the phony regrets, but all behind the scenes. Insiders close to Christine reveal Kody freaked out the moment he realized Christine was sitting down with publishers. Why? Because he knows she knows. Christine wasn't a wife, she was in the room for every Coyote Pass conversation, every loan request, every attempt Kody made to transfer assets between wives. She was there when he manipulated legal documents, when he would pit one wife against another to delay financial disclosures, and when he and Robyn allegedly funneled resources into that infamous Flagstaff mansion. Now, I've seen a pre-release summary shared with publishing partners and besties. The title alone made me scream. The current working title, Becoming Free. A wife's story of escaping control, faith, and financial manipulation. That is not a memoir, that is a warning shot. And here is the kicker. Kody attempted to shut it down. Insiders report that in late 2024, when Kody was selling off his Coyote Pass share and reorganizing real estate under a trust, Christine's legal team received a quiet cease and desist threat from Kody's lawyer. Allegedly, it wasn't about libel. It was about guarding financial records and non-disclosure agreements. But Christine, she refused to give in. In fact, per one source, the legal resistance pushed her to move even stronger. She supposedly handed over emails, property sale documents, and text exchanges to her publisher to corroborate what she was going to write. And that is when the book format changed. What was initially set to be My Journey After Sister Wives became a trial. Like story, this is important. Christine isn't merely sharing her tale, she is constructing a case. And besties, if Christine's getting ready to begin naming the shell LLCs, the secret trusts, and the checks that never found their way to her daughters, you better believe Kody's terrified. And I'll say this, what happened next, in early 2025, proves just how scared he was, because out of nowhere he moved to seal every single court record tied to Truly's custody and child support dispute. But why now? Why seal it after the case was settled, unless the book could be drawing on information from that very lawsuit? So let's get into that, because what went down at those sealed hearings of the court could be the center of the darkest secret Christine is about to share. Right after Christine's lawyers began writing chapters about her custody war with Kody, something completely bizarre occurred. Something that is just not common in Utah's family court system at all. The records in the court were sealed. Now, for those of you who don't reside in Utah, here is the information. Typically, family court cases are still open to the public, at least the general filings, the decisions, the hearing schedule. It is extremely uncommon for a complete case to be sealed, particularly once it is closed. But soon after Christine and Kody settled in May 2025, all of it vanished. No further updates, no further filings, no insight into the court's rationale. As if the case never occurred, So what prompted the lockdown? Well, besties, let's link the dots. Christine's book went into late stage editing that same month. The custody order was signed, and mere weeks after that, Kody moved to seal the entire case. Why is this important? Because sealing a case following a settlement is usually conducted to keep harmful information from becoming public, particularly if one side is a public figure with legal or financial weaknesses. And Christine didn't contest it. She didn't have to, because according to publishing insiders, she had already taken what she required prior to it being sealed. Let me say that again. Christine had the receipts, the property records, the custody terms, the communications between lawyers, the parenting class records that Kody allegedly delayed for months. And that's why her book is going to be more than a memoir. It's going to be a blow-by-blow account of what went down in the courtroom and how Kody tried to escape financial responsibility right in front of a judge. We're talking about how he attempted to restructure his equity to appear broke, how he postponed custody hearings by missing court-ordered classes, and most terrifying of all, how Truly supposedly endured unsafe living conditions during visits with Kody and Robyn's residence. And now that Christine has legal recourse for her fear of retaliation, her publisher is letting those claims, carefully crafted, supported with documents, be published in black and white. This is why sealing wasn't sufficient. This is why Kody allegedly attempted to delay her release date through subtle pressure. And this is why Christine's team accelerated publication to fall 2025. Exactly when Sister Wives Season 20 is supposed to air. Can you envision the timing of it all? A new season is premiering, while Christine's book drops bombs of truth that production purposefully omitted. And besties, if you thought that was shady enough, wait until you hear what went down with Coyote Pass just months prior to all of this unfolding. Because what Christine is also dropping, it is not parenting alone. It is about the way Kody supposedly unloaded land and real estate in a clandestine manner, all while falsely claiming to be impoverished in court. So while everybody was paying attention to Kody's battle for custody with Christine, and the media was otherwise occupied with the new season of Sister Wives, something fishy occurred in the property records of Coconino County that nearly everybody missed initially. In September of 2024, months before the custody case was resolved, Kody and Robyn donated their interests in Coyote Pass to, wait for it, Meri and Janelle, now in black and white. It appears to be a peace-making, giving gesture. Kody finally did the good thing. He gave the land to his exes, but dig deeper, and you'll see this wasn't generosity. It was a strategy, a calculated minute attempt to reduce Kody's reported assets before the court calculated child support. Let me break it down for you. Kody didn't sell the land. He didn't transfer it as part of a divorce settlement. He signed over equity to Meri and Janelle, just enough to make it look like he had less money tied up in real estate. Because child support and custody settlements often consider a parent's net worth, not just income. By offloading real estate right before discovery, Kody could present himself as less financially capable of paying ongoing support. Even more suspicious? The transfers and deeds were executed in a quitclaim deed, commonly utilized in casual family property transfers, not professional buyouts. Thus, in legal terms, a judge could still take into account the intent behind a transfer, particularly if the other party brings it up as a warning sign. But if everything is on paper and the court is not sifting through everything, that gift put a temporary dent in what Kody seems to own. Besties, you already know Christine called BS on this. Christine's book doesn't just talk about it, it explains it according to advanced reviewers who've seen the pre-release chapters. Christine spends an entire chapter of the book on how Kody made money decisions without consulting all the wives. Show Coyote Pass was never, ever going to be equally divided, and how that surprise September transfer wasn't a generous act. It was part of a legal strategy to defend himself ahead of their custody hearing. Christine even quotes from texts and voicemails Kody supposedly sent, claiming the property was still technically his even after it had been transferred. In one such message, apart from the book summary, Kody supposedly tells Janelle, "It is just paper. If you ever sell, I'll want my share. Let that sink in." He gives the land away, and yet considers himself to own it in spirit. Classic manipulation, classic Kody. And besties, The more you dig, the worse it gets. Because around this time, Kody and Robyn also refinanced their Flagstaff mansion, this time to the tune of $1.6 million, supposedly with the assistance of a new revocable trust. So on one hand, he is diminishing net worth by signing over assets. And on the other hand, he is adding liabilities in order to decrease his financial risk in court. This is the sort of thing Christine is writing about, not merely the feelings, not merely the betrayal, but the backroom financial engineering that went on. And you can bet she is not merely telling it, she is chronicling it. Christine wasn't merely fighting for custody. She wasn't merely requesting child support. She was going up against a man who, according to her soon-to-be-released book, was actively gaming the court system in order to stall, delay, and obstruct, all while rearranging his finances quietly behind the scenes. Let's run through exactly what Christine outlines in her manuscript, because it is chilling just how planned it all was. In the state of Utah, prior to parents finalizing custody and child support plans, they must go through parenting classes. These aren't optional. They're a legal prerequisite, Christine. She completed hers on time, Kody? Allegedly, he didn't. As per Christine's book and some leaked information described to publishing executives, Kody missed his first deadline, then declared he was too busy to reschedule. Besties. Too busy to attend a class that determines the future of your daughter? Christine contends that Kody used these delays to stall the pretrial hearing date, which conveniently gave him additional time to restructure his assets, push property out of his name, borrow money, such as that $1.6 million trust mortgage, do not give financial disclosure while in active discovery, and the timeline adds up. Each delay moved the goalposts, and each time the court waited, Kody had another chance to clean up his paper trail. Here's where it gets even more suspicious. Christine's book outlines how Kody responded to discovery demands slowly, or sometimes not at all. Discovery, for those who don't know, is the legal phase where both parties must disclose financial documents, communications, and anything relevant to the case. But Kody allegedly did the following: delayed generating complete bank statements, slowed down on filing tax returns, asserted he lost some records of land transfers, used the guise that his earnings were unstable because of the type of show. Christine, based on her manuscript, suspected this was not incompetence. It was willful obstruction, an extended wait, a stalling maneuver, because the longer he waited, the longer he had to translate assets into other forms. Our ton-defined watches, trucks, and trailers, and worst of all, a Mercedes Benz he supposedly purchased right in the middle of their court fight. Now best friends, Christine knew what he was up to, and from her book she even cautioned her lawyers. He is going to stall until there is nothing left to divide. Her attorneys reportedly sought sanctions, i.e., they attempted to punish Kody for stalling, but with the delays and the complexity of Kody's financial changes, they ran out of time. And then, just before the court was about to proceed with subpoenas and further financial discovery, Kody suddenly settled. This is important. By settling, he evaded further scrutiny. No subpoenas, untracked, no court, ordered asset tracing. No judge compelling him to account for how he funded expensive trinkets while begging poverty. And Christine had an idea what that meant. She might have won custody, but she did not receive justice. So she grabbed her pen, besties. That is what makes this book so potent. It is not emotional, it is systematic. It reads like a woman presenting the case she never received the chance to present in court. She is laying out the strategies Kody employed in order to appear broke, put off responsibility, undefined, silently shield Robyn and their fortune, undefined, and eschew genuine accountability for Truly's treatment. If you've been reading about Truly's life, you know Christine has always been her fiercest defender. And finally, for the first time, Christine is speaking out about what actually went down when she had court-ordered visits with Kody and Robyn. And believe me, it is more than we imagined. In her new book, Christine describes two different incidents that led her to believe Truly could no longer remain safely at her father's residence. Not mentally, not physically. During one of the visits, Christine stated Truly was put into a bedroom that was not even attached to the main house. It contained an access door on the outside. No kitchen, no bathroom, only a bed. And here is the worst part. There was no access whatsoever to that room from within the house. Christine says that room had been a former guest suite or office. but had no interior access whatsoever to Robyn and Kody's house. Picture sending your 14-year-old daughter over to see her dad, and discovering she was sleeping in what amounted to a separate storage room, with no protection, no supervision, and no adult presence within call. Christine describes it like this. She told me via text that she felt like an afterthought, that nobody said goodnight. Besties, I cried reading that. This isn't just abandonment, it is emotional abandonment. Truly was relocated on her next visit to a new location, Solomon's room, her younger brother. And again, the accommodations were unthinkable. Christine states there was no bed frame, only a mattress on the floor, no curtains, no lamps, nothing that was even close to a warm space for a teenage girl. And when Christine inquired about it, allegedly, Kody waved off her concerns, telling Truly was fine and shouldn't be spoiled. Spoiled. Besties, a room with curtains isn't a luxury, it is the bare minimum. On those 2 visits, Christine claims Truly made a heartbreaking choice. She would never return alone again. After that, she only went to Flagstaff if her sisters were with her. And even then, she never slept over at Kody's house again. Christine says she didn't feel safe. Not in a melodramatic way, in the subtle manner a kid is aware. They don't fit. Since that can be hard to process, let me explain. It wasn't about custody. It wasn't legal rights issues. This was a teenage girl coming to understand her own father didn't create space for her. Now the kicker, ladies, none of this was aired on Sister Wives, not the vacant guest room, not the strained visits, not the reality that Truly's own bedroom never was present within Kody and Robyn's enormous mansion. Christine's book describes how production never came with her to the guest room. They shot broad scenes of the house. They interviewed Robyn sobbing in her immaculately decorated room. But no camera ever caught where Truly lived. Christine writes, it was intentional. They knew it would make him look bad. But I was covering for him. Christine isn't only portraying Kody as absent. She is illustrating what emotional neglect actually looks like. A child cut out of a household, a dad preoccupied with his new life, and a household dynamic that always tilted in Robyn's favor. And here's what hurts the most. This wasn't an isolated mistake. This was a pattern. A pattern Christine is lastly chronicling, in her own words, with her daughter's approval. You might need to sit down for this, because while Christine was battling in court just to receive equitable child support, and while Truly was sleeping on a mattress on the floor without curtains, Kody and Robyn lived in luxury. We're talking Porsches, designer jewelry, original paintings, all paid for, all bought. While Kody maintained he was too poor to provide more support to Christine or Truly a decent bedroom. And now, Christine is calling the receipts in her book. Let's get into it. In one of the initial chapters leaked to press reviewers, Christine begins with a moment that stunned even her editors. She writes about hearing, not from Kody, but through Ariella, about Robyn having acquired a new diamond ring, not just a pretty ring, a bespoke, designed diamond engagement ring conservatively valued at more than $30,000. Christine reports Truly was lying on a mattress. Robyn had Tiffany quality solitaire on her finger. She continues to say this was the moment that struck her. This wasn't about not having money. It was where the money was headed. Next were the watches. Christine accuses Kody and Robyn of, around the time they filed for custody, wearing identical Rolex watches. The two set easily at $10,000, Faye $20,000 per, if not more. Add to this, Cartier Tiffany. Even a $25,000 art commission Kody gave Robyn for her birthday, which Christine puts thusly, a painting that hung in their foyer like a reminder of what the rest of us weren't allowed to have. And besties. This one made me gasp. Christine reports that early in 2025, Kody bought a brand new Mercedes-Benz Glee Coupe, a car with an MSRP of more than $100,000. This was not just a midlife crisis vehicle. This was a statement piece. While Christine was setting aside money for school expenses and doctor bills, Kody was posing around Flagstaff in a luxury SUV with upgraded trim, red interior leather, and chrome detailing. Christine writes, "He used to say we couldn't afford more groceries. Now he owns a car pricier than my original house. This one cost me an arm and a leg, BFFs." Christine details in intricate detail the time that she came to leave truly with Kody and Robyn's. She looked inside and saw artwork covering all of the walls. High-end artwork, limited print lithos and statues, some of them autographed by artists whose work sells for tens of thousands of dollars online. But when truly requested a desk to use to complete her homework, Robyn supposedly said, "There is just no room at the moment. Sweetheart, besties, number room." In a 5-bedroom mansion, with a $25,000 painting gazing down at the staircase. Now, you might ask yourself, how in the world did Kody manage to afford all of that if he was alleging poverty in court? And here's the craziest thing Christine might have discovered. In her book, she describes how in late 2024 Kody borrowed a whopping $1.6 million home loan, perhaps secured by a revocable trust, so that technically the property isn't in his name. By racking up more debt, he decreased his net worth, at least on paper, which decreases his child support payments. It is a classic tactic known as equity stripping. You withdraw cash from real estate, live large, and deplete your liquid assets before support is determined. Christine writes, "It wasn't about love, it was all about numbers." This section of the book, Girls, is dynamite, not only due to the receipts, but also due to the dichotomy it presents. The grand spending versus the minimalist parenting, the wealth lifestyle versus the courtroom stalling strategies, the diamonds and Benzes versus the teen girl sleeping on a floor, and that's why this isn't just gossip. It's evidence. Christine is laying the groundwork for readers, and possibly for the public, to see exactly how she and her daughter were treated, and how Kody spun his web of wealth protection while playing the victim. We're about to uncover what might be the most calculated move in Kody's entire playbook. Christine's book doesn't just expose what happened between four walls, it exposes what was filed at the county clerk's office, what was entombed in legal trusts, what was hidden in plain sight on purpose. This section. It is about a trust fund, and the background to it is straight out of a money thriller. According to Christine's manuscript, between July and September 2024, Kody and Robyn formed a new legal entity known as the Whitestone Trust. Now, besties, things get interesting here. Christine alleges that this was not merely a run-of-the-mill estate planning instrument. This was, in her description, a shell, a shield, a veil meant to hide. That trust was supposedly utilized to purchase their new home in Flagstaff, refinance their house now, and perhaps to transfer liquid money out of traceable personal accounts. Why does it matter? If Christine is correct, and her book indicates she has receipts, then Kody no longer owned his most valuable assets personally at the time of calculating the child support, because on paper, the Whitestone Trust owned them. And besties, if you are not familiar with how revocable trusts work, let me explain real quick. In a revocable trust, the creator, called the settlor, can still benefit from the assets. They can occupy the house, spend the cash, drive the cars, but legally, they don't own it anymore, which means those assets don't appear on basic background checks or property searches. It is legal. But when timed just so, it becomes a form of wealth shielding, particularly in custody and divorce battles. Christine outlines in the book that she began prying when she detected discrepancies in the way Kody portrayed his income and assets. In one chapter, she recounts asking for copies of documents, only to be informed by her attorney that a number of significant assets were now in a trust, with no access unless subpoenaed. That is when she realized he was hiding the money behind the curtains. She suspected the trust was fronted by a nominee trustee, perhaps an attorney or business manager, with Robyn as a successor beneficiary. What does that mean? It means that if something happened to Kody, or if there were a default, a judgment, or lawsuit, Robyn would still be able to get the trust. But Christine zilch. Christine's book allegedly contains information about wire transfers into the trust loan documents, specifying the trust as the purchaser, and how the house bought through the trust was never openly listed on MLS. It was acquired in a low-key deal from a private seller, perhaps to keep it out of sight. She continues, he was playing Monopoly with real money, but only Robyn got to keep the hotels. Let's make one thing clear. Besties, employing a trust isn't necessarily illegal, but timing makes all the difference. Christine notes that the Whitestone Trust was established after their breakup, right prior to the court case, and while Kody was pleading poverty, so he wouldn't have to pay full child support responsibility. That is what raises red flags. She writes, I wasn't angry he had a trust. I was angry that he used it to pretend he had nothing, while truly had less than she deserved. And honestly, that's the part that hits the hardest. Remember, shortly after the trust was formed, Kody moved to seal the court case. But it was too late. Christine had already documented everything: the dates, the transfers, the mortgage amounts, the name of the trust, the structure of the ownership, and she's laying it all bare, in her own words, with receipts backed by public records. It's the kind of move you'd expect from a crime drama, not a family man on a reality show. While Kody was telling the court he didn't have enough money to offer more support, while Christine was budgeting school supplies for Truly, and while Robyn was crying on national television about losing the family, Kody was secretly selling his McMansion off-market to hide the proceeds. Let's break down exactly what Christine alleges in her book, and what public records confirm. Christine's book details how she started asking questions about Kody's Flagstaff mansion in early 2025, the same one he previously used as proof he was providing a stable home for Truly. But suddenly, that house was gone. There was no listing, no for sale sign, no public open house, and nothing on Zillow, Redfin, or Realtor.com. Besties. It just vanished, Christine writes. It didn't sell on the market, it was sold off the books. According to real estate insiders she spoke to, the house was a pocket listing, listed privately between luxury realtors, never publicly advertised, and never put out for open bid. And why would someone do that? Because if a sale isn't disclosed, it is more difficult to track, more difficult to detect, and if you are in litigation, more difficult for your ex to document how much money you received. That is the million-dollar question. Literally, Christine estimates that the house sold for less than $1 million. According to local comps, stick with us here, aunt's taxes, fees, and commissions are deducted. Kody and Robyn would have netted $500 K, $600 K in liquid cash. But when Christine asked for financial disclosures, that money never materialized. It wasn't in his bank accounts. It wasn't included as income. Why? Christine believes Kody immediately moved it into the Whitestone Trust or used it to pay down the new home's massive $1.6 million mortgage, which, again, was taken out through the trust, not in Kody's name directly. Christine writes, he moved the money faster than I could subpoena it. She suspected he delisted the home undefined found a private buyer undefined had. The sale recorded after the deal closed wired the money into an untraceable trust account. Now here is the most unbelievable part. Christine says she only found out about the sale because she looked up county property records herself. A little footnote: property transfer from K. Brown to Redacted LLC, filed 2 months after Kody and Christine's final court hearing. Christine describes that moment in the book. It was like watching him walk away with the vault and slam the door behind him. And again, by that time, the court case was sealed. Christine had no way to challenge the sale. No access to issue subpoenas. No legal grounds to demand he split the proceeds. And yet, he did it during their ongoing custody dispute. Right when he was claiming financial hardship. Right when Truly still didn't have a proper bedroom. This part of the book reveals what we've all suspected. Kody was planning ahead. He was liquidating assets behind closed doors undefined. Hay never meant to play fair. And Christine makes it very explicit that this wasn't merely a betrayal. It was a staged asset diversion, with Robyn profiting not just from it, but reportedly helping to oversee the trust, the transfers, and the legal firewall between them and any court decree. Christine's tone is even, but the subtext is deafening. They got everything, I got freedom, but Truly got ignored. We've uncovered so much about Kody's behind-the-scenes deception, the trusts, the luxury spending, the off-market house sale, all while Christine was simply trying to secure a stable life for Truly. But this next part, it's not about legal moves or money. It's about the emotional cost. And Christine, in her book, finally opens up about something she's never admitted before: her guilt, her regret, and her determination to ensure it never does happen to another woman again. In a chapter entitled, The room with no curtains Christine describes. When I saw Truly's face that day, when she told me she didn't want to go back, I realized I had stayed in that family for far too long. It is not an angry statement, not bitter, but full of sadness. Christine discloses that although she was emotionally estranged from Kody for years, she remained for the sake of cohesiveness, for the guise of keeping the family intact. But by doing that, she now feels she taught Truly and her other children that their desires were secondary to Kody's ego. She writes, "Truly was invisible to the man who helped create her. And I let that go on for too long." Christine provides powerful and heartbreaking bits of dialogue she exchanged with Truly throughout the custody fight. One of them is a punch to the gut. "Why doesn't Dad care where I sleep?" Christine says she had no response, because what she knew was he didn't. He cared about his reputation, his authority, his family with Robyn, but not about providing his daughter with so much as a desk or curtains. Christine says, "That was when I ceased negotiating peace with Kody. I began to prepare to speak truth. I take up here where the book assumes a second life." Christine doesn't merely pen it as catharsis, she pens it as a sort of justice. Because, as she herself says, the courtroom failed us. So I grabbed the pen. She hopes that others will see how subtle financial abuse really is, how emotional neglect can hide behind mansions and watch, and how courts can miss it if the abuser plays their cards perfectly. But above all, Christine writes this for the next woman who could find herself in the same place, trapped under spiritual obligation, gaslit into staying, for the kids told she is overreacting, seeing her kids get lost in the background of somebody else's fan fiction life. Christine wants her book to be that red flag that other people can see. She ends one of the book's most intimate chapters with this: "If you are asking if your child deserves something more, they do. If you are waiting for the perfect time to leave, it is already past. But it is not too late. Besties, it is real, it is raw, and it is not apologetic." Christine isn't tossing Kody under the bus. She is starting a signal fire. She knows Kody will spin this. She knows Robyn will sob about being misunderstood. She knows people will say she is vindictive or bitter. But she no longer cares. Because, as she writes in her last sentence of this chapter, truth, when finally told, sounds a lot like revenge to the person who spent years avoiding it. This is where Christine's book transitions from personal suffering to public revelation. We've all watched Sister Wives thinking we were getting the whole show, the breakdowns, the drama, the emotional departures. But according to Christine, we didn't even get to see half of it. In this chapter, Christine reveals the true story behind the cameras, and how the production staff, editors, and even network executives supposedly shielded Kody at any cost. Christine writes in her book the show wasn't scripted, but it was sanitized. She alleges there were whole scenes cut out, including arguments over money, Robyn confronting other wives over entitlements, Kody threatening lawyers if Christine talked to attorneys, one especially incriminating tale. Christine tells of once, on camera, mentioning the Coyote pass equity disparity, asking how much money Kody had really put in compared to what he reported. But that episode never broadcast. She reports. That moment vanished from the timeline as if it didn't occur. Kody appeared tense. Robyn was surprised. Production cut the whole thing down. Christine reveals a bombshell concerning the production deals as well. She claims that, way back when the show initially began, the family was offered a mass contract that Kody worked out. Christine confesses that she and the rest of the wives never got an entire picture of the breakdown of who received what for compensation. "We didn't know how much money Kody was making on his own, or what Robyn negotiated later. We just accepted what we were told." Subsequently, she explains, it became apparent that Kody had greater creative control than people realized, including approval of storylines, editorial input, and even input on which scenes would get cut if he looked too emotional. Let that percolate. Christine recounts shooting scenes that shocked the crew, including Kody's unwillingness to involve Truly in big family decisions, only later to learn those entire scenes were omitted from the final product. In one example, Christine reports Truly asked Kody if she could live with her mom full-time. Kody reputedly responded, unemotionally, "We'll see what the court says." The room fell silent. Cameras continued to roll, Producers actually requested Kody to reword the remark for television, but on the aired episode, that never happened. Christine has written, Kody did not have to lie on camera. The show simply would not air the truth. She criticizes the production team for making Kody's account of events, cutting episodes to favor his account that he was misunderstood, the wives were emotional, Christine left for selfish reasons. Robyn was being blamed unjustly. Christine alleges her exit sequence was re-edited on 2 occasions, making her motives for departure more palatable, and excising direct quotes regarding financial disparity. She exposes, I was saying on camera, he loves Robyn. He supports Robyn. The rest of us were left to struggle for crumbs. That never aired. Christine goes on to describe how the show was not a reality show. It was a smokescreen. When Kody portrayed himself on television as a hurting father. In reality, he was reorganizing finances, ignoring deadlines in court, and according to her, forsaking his daughter in secret. She writes, people ask why I wrote a book. The truth is, they already had the footage. They simply refused to use it. Christine's motive now, to provide all the fans with the complete story, the one that didn't go through Kody's filter. Let's discuss the sob story queen herself, Robyn Brown. Because all these years, we've been led to believe that Robyn was simply Kody's favorite, right? She didn't demand that position. She was just more submissive. She did everything right. Or at least, that is what the show made you think. But in Christine's book, Robyn's not a supporting character. She is part of the narrative. Christine discloses that Robyn was aware of Kody's trust fund, the sale of the house, and the secret financial changes well in advance of everyone else. In one chapter entitled, The Wife with the Ledger, Christine asserts that Robyn had meetings with attorneys, assisted in signing trust paperwork, and even signed as an alternate beneficiary on the Whitestone Trust. Christine writes, she wasn't merely the wife in the mansion. She was the one keeping the books. And receipts don't lie. Christine says she has emails and text verifications that indicate Robyn assisted in making transfers between accounts, particularly when Kody had to withdraw big bucks in the months leading up to their court battle. While Christine was estranged, Robyn bought a new diamond ring. She started wearing designer labels, from Tiffany to Cartier. Her children had beautifully equipped bedrooms. She acquired a luxury SUV and personal art commissions. And Kody was suddenly behaving like her own chauffeur and personal assistant, rather than father to his other children. Christine is convinced this wasn't an accident. This was reward. She continues, each time Kody took equity away from the family, Robyn received something new. Every action that diminished the other wives' authority strengthened hers. And besties, let's not forget, Robyn was the only wife who was legally married to Kody. That means when the other marriages fell apart, she inherited everything by default. Legal property rights shared debt control protection under the trust, complete access to Kody's post. Show earnings the show covered for her, too. Christine says producers protected Robyn from appearing too invested. She reports, we shot scenes where Robyn looked over paperwork. We taped episodes where she asked what would come of the property if Kody lost it. But those scenes never aired. Robyn was instead always portrayed as the emotional support, the target of other wives' meanness, the wife, just trying to keep the peace, but Christine assures us it was smoke and mirrors. Robyn wasn't just privy, she was in on it. This section of Christine's book hard hits. She describes how Robyn would play the victim in private as well, using soft guilt maneuvers to manipulate the other wives. Things like, I just want what is fair. But Kody says, you are making it difficult. I didn't ask for any of this, but now I have to cope. I am doing what Kody believes is best. Christine writes, Robyn didn't need to scream to control the house. She cried her way into ownership. You might wonder, why didn't Christine object sooner? Why didn't she call Robyn out on the show? She says, because the show was protecting her. And if I went public, it would only make me look jealous. It is the classic trap, besties. The woman who leaves is emotional. The one who stays quiet looks loyal. But loyalty doesn't mean innocence, and Christine's book is finally separating the two. Christine doesn't come out and say Robyn masterminded anything. She is careful with her words, but the picture she paints is clear. Robyn benefited from every asset shift. Robyn helped execute some of the transfers. Robyn shielded Kody during the custody battle, and Robyn now holds the key to nearly everything Kody owns. Christine ends the chapter with this line: "She played the long game and she won. But not because she was nice, because she was cautious." If you thought the drama between Kody and the wives was ugly, wait until you hear about what Christine's book has to say about the kids. Because while the cameras were trained on Kody's explosive breakup with Christine, Janelle, and Meri, off camera the Brown children were observing, and they were taking notes. Christine's forthcoming book doesn't only document her own emotional experience. It involves quotes, intimate moments, and first-hand comments on how the children, particularly the older ones, started distancing themselves from Kody after years of being kept out. Yet, what she uncovers is heartbreaking. Christine reveals how in the course of and subsequent to the custody hearings, a number of Brown children, her older daughters and Janelle's boys, severed routine communication with Kody. Why? Because they noticed the imbalance. Seriously sleeping on a floor as Robyn's children had suites of their own, Janelle and Christine juggling jobs, while Robyn sat at home in comfort, Kody always standing up for Robyn's feelings, and not caring for his other children's mental well-being, says Christine. "My kids felt rejected, even though he was still around. And each one of them left, one by one." One of the most poignant sections in this chapter is about Janelle's boys, Gabe and Garrison. Christine shares moments when the boys spoke about how Kody stopped making regular calls. He put Robyn's kids' milestones ahead of theirs, and even skipped birthdays and graduations, saying he was overwhelmed. Christine cites Garrison, with his permission. He had time for her house, her drama. Her kids, not for us. It is no surprise both boys have been publicly so critical of Kody on social media in the past. But Christine's book provides context we didn't see. Christine also discusses Truly's emotional distance from her dad. Not only after the custody battle, but even prior to when the court drama started. She tells one sad admission from Truly: "I feel like he doesn't know me anymore." Christine says after the visits ceased and the court settled for limited custody, Truly grew strong again. But by then the damage was done. And besties, she hasn't been back to Kody and Robyn's house since. What is interesting is how the Brown kids have united together independent of Kody's influence. Christine explains group texts without Kody's sibling get-togethers between Christine and Janelle's children, and how some of the children refer to Robyn as the stepmom who replaced all of us. She reports, "Our children are healing, but they're doing so by cutting out the man who hurt them." Christine also suggests that producers dissuaded such scenes of complete estrangement of the children from Kody. She asserts that scenes of cringe-worthy family reunions were coerced, emotional interviews of the older children were reduced or eliminated, and some children did not show up at all, refusing to be utilized for damage control. Christine reports, "The show wanted us to appear to be a healing family, but our children had already moved on." Christine doesn't have to make Kody a bad guy. His absence from his own children's lives does that for her. She closes the chapter with a frightening awareness. Kody once said the show would be his legacy. But what if it is not? What if his legacy is the silence between him and his children? Here we are. We've traveled through legal schemes, hidden trusts, emotional betrayals, and a reality television facade that hid more than it showed. Now, in this final chapter of her book and our series, Christine delivers what might be her most powerful message yet. This wasn't just a fight with Kody. This was a fight for herself, for her daughter, for each woman who has been told to keep quiet for the family. And she is done keeping quiet. Christine describes the moment she finally realized she was free. Not when the court case concluded. Not when she left set for the final time. But when she ceased to take up less space to save a man who had long quit saving her. She writes, "Freedom doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like saying no without fear." This sentence encapsulates her journey. From submissive spiritual wife to independent single mother, from reality television personality to real-world survivor, from background figure to outspoken truth teller. This section of the book, Besties, is larger than Kody. Christine reflects on the faith community that taught her to weather adversity in the name of loyalty, sacrifice, and eternal reward. She states, "We were taught that struggle was holy, that pain was proof of commitment. But all it did was teach us to dismiss red flags." She doesn't criticize the church specifically, she doesn't call out names. But she does critique the toxic belief systems that silenced her, and so many other women, and kept them quiet, obedient, and stuck. Her message: if your God tells you to vanish for a man, that is not your God speaking. Undefinite as a man playing holy, mic dropped. Christine makes no mistake. This book is not revenge, it is reckoning. She doesn't have to establish that Kody lied. His behavior is louder than any chapter could be, but she does need the world to know that what occurred to her was systemic, that the show lied by omission undefined, and that the women and children involved deserved so much better. She ends with, he can keep the house, the art, the money. What I have now can't be taken away: peace, truth, and the voice I was told to silence. Christine knows this book is going to blow up. She knows Kody will rage, she knows Robyn will spin a PR story. She knows the network may distance itself, but she doesn't care, because, and I quote, the truth doesn't need airtime to exist. It just takes someone courageous enough to say it. Christine's book, Becoming Free, is not her memoir. It is a reclaiming of her story, of her dignity, of every moment she was asked to smile in pain. She writes, if one woman leaves because she read my story, that is worth more than every season of Sister Wives combined. And that, besties, is the kind of legacy that endures. Me, what you think in the comments. What do you think of Christine's story? Undefinido. You think there is still more truth hiding behind the scenes. Undefined. And what will Kody and Robyn do when this book comes out? Undefined. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't, and hit that bell so you never miss the next deep dive into the Brown family imploding. Until next time, undefined by besties.